Hello, viewer. Welcome to R with Oliver, episode 4. My name is Oliver, and let's talk about R. In this episode, I'm going to go over lists and also introduce the concept of subsetting. So, before I get started, if you'll notice, I have this little quote right here that I took from Advanced R by Hadley Wickham. That's a good little tip from this guy on Twitter, R Lang Tip. And if you notice, I have each line commented out. In R, we use the pound sign or hashtag to comment out a line of code. Anything after the pound sign will not be interpreted as code and just be interpreted as text. Um, Not even character text, but just like literal like text. It's just comments in the code, right? And so you can go through, each line and do pound sign. It can be kind of tedious if you have many lines. And so one thing you can do is you can highlight a group of lines. And on Windows, the shortcut is you hold Control, you hold Shift, and you press C. And that will comment or uncomment a highlighted group of text or highlighted lines. Yeah, pretty cool. It's a nice shortcut. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's go ahead and make a list. Let's call it a list. And you make a list with the list function. And every argument to the list function will be an element in the list. So let's go ahead and have the first element of our list be an integer vector with the values 1 to 5. And we can have the second element of our list be a numeric or double vector with one element, and let's just go with the number pi. Our third element can be a longer integer vector. Let's go with the numbers 55 to 65. And let's do our fourth element as, say, a character vector. Let's do all the letters of the alphabet in capitals, which we can grab with capital letters, the word letters in capital. Pretty cool. Let's go ahead and run this. And then let's go ahead and jump over to the console and look at our list called a list. And there it is. You'll see we have 4 elements, 4 vectors. One's a character vector, 2 are integer vectors, and 1 is a double vector. And so the cool thing about lists is each element of the list can be a different type. You'll notice we have different types, 3 different types, and each element can be different lengths, and you'll see each one is of a different length. So pretty cool. And if you'll notice, I used these constants, pi, and letters. These look like variables we've created, but if you'll notice, if we jump down here to our environment in the bottom left, we only have one thing defined, our list we created, and no other variables. So we did not define pi or letters. So if we jump over here to the console and do $pi, up will pop the help documentation for built-in constants. And so you'll see R has a small number of built-in constants that we can reference here. So we can get the number pi, we can get, letters of the alphabet in lowercase or uppercase, and we can also grab stuff like with month.name, we can grab every single month, right? The names of every month. And we can generate that super easily with month.name. Pretty cool. And so I want to make a small note here that you can redefine these variables. So for example, if you wanted to use pi as your variable in your code, you could go ahead and do that, lowercase p, lowercase I. And you could define that as, say, 5. And let's go ahead and run this. And there's no issues there. R will not complain that you're redefining a variable. It doesn't care at all. It's just going to redefine it. And so you see now in our environment, we have the value pi, or the variable pi with the value 5, right? And there's no issue. We look at it as 5, and we've essentially lost everything we have in the past. And so this is a reason why you want to use good names, and you want to be careful about the names you choose because you might be writing over something that's important. Yeah. This also leads into the RM function, which stands for remove. You can go ahead and spell out remove. Let's go ahead and look at the help documentation for the remove function. Down here under usage, you'll see there's 2 versions of the remove function. You have the one that's spelled out completely, and then just the shorthand RM. And so people generally just use the shorthand RM. And so if you remember, we can use the broom icon here in the environment to clear all of our variables from our environment. But if we just want to clear one or a few, we can use the remove function. So let's go ahead and remove the pi we created. Let's go ahead and look at pi, and you'll see it has reverted back to the definition that's included with base R. So pretty cool. And for example, if we had a couple of variables, let's say we had A and B, right, in our environment, and we wanted to clear out these just A and B, we can say, hey, remove A comma B. And boom, there we go. Removes just what we want. Pretty cool. And so right now, this is an unnamed list, this list we've created. If you'll see up here in double brackets, we have the 1, 2, 3, 4. This is essentially the index. So this 4 represents the 4th element of our list. And let's go ahead and check out some of these functions up here from our previous episodes, and let's run them on our list. So let's go ahead and verify the length of our list, which is 4, right? We put 4 elements into it. What's the type of and class of our list? Oops, we forgot our ending parentheses, which we can just add on the second line. And unsurprisingly, it's list. And the class of our list is also just a list. So not much learned there. What about the names of our list? And you'll notice it's null because we have no names. These indices are where the names would go, but right now they're just indices. So we can go ahead and create names for our list. That's no issue. Let's go ahead and use the first 4 letters of the alphabet. Let's just go A, B, C, D. So A, B, C, and D. And then we'll go ahead and run this. So now every element of our list is named. Let's go ahead and check out our list now. And you'll see we have the names A, B, C, and D. And one small note, if you notice the A, the first element, is surrounded by backticks. And this is just a visual bug in the current version of R and just on Windows. So if you're on Macintosh, you will not notice this. And if you are on an older version of R on Windows or a new version, you will not see this visual bug. Let's go ahead and look at the names now of our list. And if you'll notice, it's A, B, C, D with no backticks on the A. So pretty cool. And now we have names for each element in our list. Pretty freaking cool. And so now we can start talking about subsetting. And so let's get to this quote right here. I think this quote explains it really well. So our list X in this case is just called a list. So this is the list we're talking about. And so pretend it's a train carrying objects, right? Then X5 is the object in car 5. So let's go ahead and check this out. What if we did our list, right? And then bracket, bracket 1. Let's go ahead and do that. Bracket, bracket 1. You'll see it just returns the integer vector 1 to 5, and this is identical to this or this, right? Which is how we defined it in the first place. So it essentially pulled out the objects in that car. And so if we just did a single bracket, right? Notice how it included the name, right, with the resulting vector. And so kind of just to confirm what's going on, let's go ahead and copy this A list bracket bracket 1. Let's look at the type of and the class, and you'll see it's integer, right? Because it's an integer vector. But let's go ahead and look at the type of and the class of this one, where it's just a single bracket. So let's go type of and class, and you'll notice it's still a list. So we didn't pull out the contents of the car, right? We pulled out the actual train of cars right here, right? And so we did a list single bracket 1, and so kind of to keep with the example here, right, where they do 4 bracket 6, we could say 4 colon 6 in the brackets. We could do 1 colon 3, right, and that will grab the first 3 elements of our list. Pretty cool. And so this is the kind of outer box, right? This is still a list. These are lists, right? This is one list, and each one is considered a list, right? They would just be length 1. But to pull out the contents, you need to use the double brackets. And so a little confusing, but if you wanted to read about it, you can do question mark, backtick, bracket, backtick. And so this syntax is a way to search and read about documentation for operations that you're not really sure how to find. So for example, if you wanted to read more about the addition operator in R, you could do question mark backtick plus backtick, and you go ahead and execute that, and up will pop the help documentation for arithmetic operators. Pretty cool. And so you can do question mark backtick bracket backtick and read all about extracting or replacing parts of an object. So essentially this is subsetting. And you'll notice they have single brackets and double brackets, and they talk about it all here. So pretty cool. One more thing I wanted to talk about is the $sign. So the $sign is a way to grab elements based off their name. If you'll notice, the elements have $sign with their name, kind of to help you remember. So let's go ahead and look at our list. Remember, it has 4 elements. So let's say we wanted just to pull out D based off its name. Well, we can just very easily say list subset and just grab the D column or the D element. And you'll notice once we put the $sign after our list, RStudio will recommend the elements based off their name. And so we can go ahead and execute this and just pull out that element. And if you'll notice, there's no name. And if we go ahead and look at the type of and class of this result, you'll notice it's a character vector because we pulled out the contents, right? There's no name associated with it anymore. So pretty cool. I think this is everything I wanted to cover in this video. This has been R with Oliver episode 4. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.